On a cold December morning in 2010, the flames that danced across a wooded roadside in Gainesville, Florida, would reveal one of the most heartbreaking crimes to ever strike the University of Florida campus. What began as a routine brush fire call would transform into a murder investigation that exposed the dark reality of domestic abuse and the devastating consequences when love turns deadly. 21-year-old Saleha Huuda had everything to live for. Born in Ghana and brought to America as a child, she embodied the American dream her parents had sought when they immigrated to Florida. Her infectious smile lit up every room she entered, and her passion for dance and cheerleading made her a beloved figure at the University of Florida, where she was pursuing her degree in family, youth, and community services with dreams of becoming a nurse. But beneath the surface of this promising young woman's life lurked a toxic relationship that would ultimately cost her everything. The man who claimed to love her had already shown his true colors through a pattern of violence and control that friends and family had witnessed with growing alarm. Yet even they couldn't have imagined how far his obsession would drive him. The night of December 29, 2010, started like any other. Saleha visited her parents' home around 6 p.m., a routine stop to collect an insurance card. Her father would later remember how normal she seemed that evening, how nothing appeared out of the ordinary as she hugged them goodbye. It was a memory that would haunt him forever, knowing those were the last moments he would ever share with his daughter. What happened in the hours that followed would shock investigators and devastate a community. Someone Saleha trusted had lured her to her death, and the methods they used to cover their tracks revealed a level of premeditation that chilled even seasoned detectives to the bone. The call came in just before 3 a.m. on December 30th. A mother and daughter driving along County Road 225 spotted what they assumed was a simple brush fire burning in the woods near the highway. They did what any responsible citizen would do. They called 911 to report it. But when firefighters arrived and began battling the flames, they made a discovery that would transform a routine emergency response into a homicide investigation. Hidden within the inferno was the badly burned body of a young woman. The acrid smell of gasoline hung heavy in the air, telling investigators that this was no accident. Someone had used an accelerant to ensure the fire would burn hot and fast, destroying as much evidence as possible. The scene yielded few clues: a paper napkin, fragments of a cell phone case, and pieces of what appeared to be a blanket that had been wrapped around the victim. But identifying the body proved challenging due to the extensive burns. It wasn't until investigators cross-referenced tattoos found on the remains with their database that they made the connection to a missing person report filed just days earlier. The University of Florida cheerleader whose family had been desperately trying to reach her since December 29th. Her father had called repeatedly, only to hear her phone go straight to voicemail. When she failed to return home or contact anyone for 2 days, her parents knew something was terribly wrong. The investigation led detectives to Saleha's off-campus apartment, where they found an eerie scene of normalcy. There were no signs of forced entry, no evidence of a struggle. Her beloved pets, a dog named Vegas, fish, a snake, and mice, were still there, creating what friends called her mini-zoo. But Saleha's 2001 silver Nissan was nowhere to be found. Digital records from the apartment's passcode system revealed that Saleha had left on the evening of December 29th, but never returned. The timeline was becoming clear. Whatever happened to her occurred after she left her parents' house that night. As detectives dug deeper into Saleha's life, they uncovered a troubling pattern of domestic violence that painted a disturbing picture of her final months. The young woman who appeared so vibrant and confident on the outside had been trapped in an abusive relationship that she had been desperately trying to escape. Her current boyfriend, Mike, cooperated fully with the investigation. He confirmed that he had last seen Saleha on the evening of December 29th when she left to run errands. His attempts to reach her that night told a chilling story. When he called her phone around 1:45 a.m. on December 30th, a woman who wasn't Saleha answered and told him she was sleeping, promising she would call back later. That call never came, and less than an hour later, Saleha's body was discovered burning in the woods. But Mike wasn't the man neighbors had been hearing argue with Saleha. That distinction belonged to her ex-boyfriend, 24-year-old Antonio Devin Drayton, a man with an extensive criminal record and a documented history of violence against women. Drayton, who has a long criminal record with charges ranging from domestic battery to disorderly conduct, was ultimately charged with first-degree murder, grand theft, abuse of a dead human body, tampering with physical evidence, and willful burning of lands. But his involvement in Saleha's death ran deeper than anyone initially imagined. The relationship between Saleha and Antonio had been toxic from the start. In January 2010, he had allegedly chased her through a parking lot and pulled her hair. By June 2010, the violence had escalated dramatically when police were called to Saleha's apartment after Antonio allegedly broke in, beat her, choked her, and robbed her. Yet despite this clear pattern of abuse, the charges were dropped, and Antonio claimed he had been drunk during the attack. Even more troubling was the web of relationships that surrounded the couple. Antonio had been involved with multiple women simultaneously, including a 42-year-old woman named Cassandra Kimbrough, who was allegedly supporting him financially. There was also Angela, another woman in Antonio's orbit, who had been forced to take out a restraining order against Saleha after their rivalry over Antonio turned physical. The breakthrough in the case came when investigators located Saleha's missing silver Nissan on January 3, 2011. The car was found in the parking lot of the Turtle Creek Apartments in Gainesville, and the location was significant. It was within walking distance of where Antonio Drayton lived, but it was what investigators found inside the vehicle that truly broke the case wide open. The overwhelming smell of gasoline emanated from the trunk, where they discovered pillowcases that matched those used to wrap Saleha's body. In the front seat, they found her purse and wallet, confirming that whatever happened to her occurred after she left her parents' house that night. The discovery of the car led investigators to canvass every gas station between where it was found and where Saleha's body had been discovered. Their persistence paid off when they found surveillance footage from a gas station in the nearby town of Stark, Florida. Coincidentally, the same town where Antonio's foster family lived. The footage revealed a shocking twist in the case. The person driving Saleha's car wasn't Antonio. It was Cassandra Kimbrough, the woman who had provided his alibi for the night of the murder. The surveillance clearly showed her getting out of the driver's side of the vehicle and purchasing exactly $2 worth of gasoline, which she poured into a container. This evidence shattered Cassandra's claim that she and Antonio had spent the evening at home watching movies. Instead, it revealed her active participation in the crime and the cover-up that followed. Additional evidence continued to mount against the pair. Antonio's brother told investigators that Antonio had shown up at their family home around 11 p.m. on December 29th, acting anxious and asking to borrow money. A neighbor reported seeing a car matching Saleha's description leaving the driveway that night, complete with a cheerleading sticker in the window. A medical examiner determined that Huuda died of homicidal violence before the fire was started, confirming that the burning was an attempt to destroy evidence rather than the cause of death itself. The final piece of evidence came from DNA analysis of the napkin found at the crime scene, which matched Antonio Drayton's genetic profile. With overwhelming evidence mounting against them, both Antonio Drayton and Cassandra Kimbrough were arrested in connection with Saleha's murder. But even in custody, their stories didn't align, and investigators found themselves dealing with two suspects who were willing to betray each other to save themselves. Antonio initially tried to pin the entire crime on Cassandra, claiming she had strangled Saleha with a belt while he merely watched. He painted himself as a passive observer to the violence, saying Cassandra had poured gasoline on Saleha's body and set her on fire while he stood by helplessly. But investigators knew better. The evidence clearly showed that both had played active roles in the crime, and they confronted Cassandra with Antonio's version of events. Faced with the mounting evidence and her partner's betrayal, Cassandra finally broke down and told investigators what really happened that night. According to her confession, Saleha had gone to Antonio's house on December 29th with the intention of ending their relationship once and for all. She wanted to make it clear that she was moving on with her life, and that their toxic cycle of violence and reconciliation was over. But Antonio couldn't accept that the woman he claimed to love was finally strong enough to walk away from him permanently. The confrontation turned deadly when Antonio flew into a rage and attacked Saleha, strangling her to death in his home. With her lifeless body on his hands, he called Cassandra to help him dispose of the evidence. Together, they loaded Saleha's body into the trunk of her own car and drove around for hours trying to figure out how to cover up their crime. Eventually, they settled on the horrific plan to burn her body in a remote wooded area, hoping the flames would destroy any forensic evidence that could link them to the murder. They wrapped her in bedding from Antonio's home and doused her body in gasoline before setting it ablaze. The judicial resolution came swiftly. Antonio Devin Drayton was sentenced to 45 years in prison for killing his ex-girlfriend Saleha Huuda, while Cassandra Kimbrough received a significantly lighter sentence of just 2 years in exchange for her cooperation and testimony against Antonio. The murder of Saleha Huuda represents far more than just another tragic true crime story. It serves as a stark reminder of the deadly reality of domestic violence and the dangerous escalation that can occur when abusers lose control over their victims. Saleha had been trying to break free from Antonio's grip for months. She had started dating someone new, was focused on her studies, and had plans for a bright future in nursing. She had even begun to see through Antonio's manipulation, as evidenced by her conversation with Angela, another woman in Antonio's web of deceit, just days before her death. In that heart-to-heart discussion, both women had finally realized that Antonio was playing them against each other, using their rivalry to maintain control over both of their lives. But Antonio Drayton was a man who couldn't accept rejection. His criminal history showed a pattern of controlling and violent behavior toward women, and Saleha's determination to finally end their relationship threatened the power he held over her. Rather than allow her to move on with her life, he made the ultimate act of control. He took her life entirely. For Saleha's family and friends, the loss was immeasurable. Here was a young woman who had overcome the challenges of immigration, excelled academically, and was poised to make a positive difference in the world through her planned career in nursing. Her infectious personality and love of dance had made her a beacon of joy for everyone who knew her. The University of Florida campus mourned the loss of someone who embodied the best of what college life could offer. Today, Antonio Drayton remains incarcerated in a Florida state prison, serving his 45-year sentence for the murder of Saleha Huuda. Cassandra Kimbrough was released in 2012 after serving her brief 2-year sentence. But for Saleha's family, friends, and the University of Florida community, the impact of this senseless crime continues to resonate. Saleha Huuda's story is a reminder that domestic violence can affect anyone, regardless of their education, social status, or support system. It's a call to action for all of us to recognize the warning signs of abuse and to support those who are trying to break free from toxic relationships. Her memory lives on not just in the hearts of those who loved her, but in the important conversations her case has sparked about domestic violence prevention and the need to take threats seriously before they escalate to the ultimate tragedy. Saleha deserved to dance, to cheer, to graduate, to become the nurse she dreamed of being, and to live the full, rich life that was stolen from her on that December night in 2010. While we cannot bring her back, we can honor her memory by working to ensure that other young women facing similar situations get the help and protection they need before it's too late.